The year was 1993, and after the collapse of the Soviet Union, there was total chaos in Russia. The downfall of communism led to massive confusion among all people. No one in Russia was ready to switch to capitalism. After all, for the last 69 years, they had been told that communism was the only way to live and that capitalism was evil. The Russian world was changing drastically. There was no more guaranteed employment, no more money. People were scared. How would they survive? Who could they listen to? On the 31st of December 1993, instead of Russian President Boris Yeltsin, an unknown man made his appearance on national television. He was about to wish Russians a happy New Year's Eve and finally give them answers to their questions. That man was Sergei Mavrodi. He was born on the 11th of August 1955 in Moscow. During his childhood, Sergei was diagnosed with a bilateral heart defect. However, that didn't stop him from living an active lifestyle and becoming the champion of Moscow at Sambo, a Russian form of wrestling. As said by himself, he had suffered 12 concussions during his champion days. In school, he excelled at math and physics and also had a photographic memory. After graduating from school, Sergei entered the Moscow Institute of Electronic Engineering at the Faculty of Applied Mathematics. At the institute, Sergei for the first time began to make and sell copies of audio and video materials, and in 1983 he was detained for a period of 10 days by the Soviet financial police for private entrepreneurial activity. However, he was released a short while later when the decision of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union on excesses was issued. In 1989, the MMM cooperative was set up in Moscow. The name of the company was taken from the first letters of the three founders' surnames: Sergei Mavrodi, his brother Vyacheslav Mavrodi, and Olga Melnikova, his brother's first wife. This company imported computers and components, which were rare commodities at this time in Russia. Business was doing very well, and MMM quickly started to generate huge profits. So huge, in fact, that in 1991, as part of a PR campaign, Mavrodi offered Muscovites free one-day metro travel. And 2 years later, he bought airtime and made a New Year's Eve TV address to the people of Russia, something that was usually done by the country's president. In fact, the company was so big that it had more than 30 branches throughout the USSR, and even their own MMM bank. After this type of PR, everyone knew who the MMM were, including Federal Tax Police. They began an investigation and found that the company hadn't been paying taxes. As a result, MMM Bank was closed and other banks refused to lend to them because of their reputation. That's when Sergei decided to change the strategy. He issued MMM shares for sale on February 1st, 1994. The prices were actually set personally by Mavrodi and didn't correlate to anything, being just random numbers. The company promised shareholders high return on investment and that it would buy back their shares immediately upon request. Okay, just imagine you're a Muscovite in 1994 and all you have seen in the last few years is poverty, unemployment and banditry. And one day, like a ray of light, you see an ad on TV in which you are convinced by a simple hard worker just like yourself that you can enrich yourself by buying MMM shares. Of course, you want to jump on the opportunity, so you grab all your savings and run to the nearest MMM office where you've been told that the MMM shares were sold out. But instead, you can buy MMM coupons that look similar to Russian 10-ruble banknotes, but instead of a portrait of Lenin, they have a portrait of Mavrodi. Seems legit, you buy them. The MMM coupon was not a security. In truth, it was a fair chunk of paper, the esteem of which rested on nothing more than Mavrodi's guarantee that it was worth something. It was all an extraordinary illusion. The earnings of one office of the MMM company amounted to almost $50 million a day. All profits were literally counted in rooms filled with cash to the brim. The next accusations were made in August 1994, again for tax evasion. This time, the company was fined 50 billion rubles, although the company could afford to pay the fine. Mavrodi chose to go to war against authorities. He was arrested again. It was clear that no one would receive their money if Mavrodi remained in jail. The panic started to grow among investors. People organized a rally with the slogan "Free Mavrodi" so that he would return their money. But while in custody and under investigation, Sergei Sergei managed to enroll as a candidate for deputy of the lower house of parliament. People who invested in this Ponzi scheme desperately wanted their money back and voted for him. As a result, Mavrodi was successfully elected into parliament. He received parliamentary immunity and went into parliament straight from his prison cell. However, none of the investors received a dime after he was released. More than that, he didn't turn up for parliamentary sessions and a year later was stripped of his mandate. But at this time, Mavrodi was already nowhere to be found. The investigation into MMM resumed, and Mavrodi was put on the international wanted list. There were numerous rumors that he left Russia and was hiding elsewhere in Europe. But in January 2003, he was detained in a rented apartment in Moscow, where he had been hiding for 8 years. Throughout all this time, his security service had brought him food and clothes, while he himself, using a false name, was registering Stock Generation, a virtual stock exchange in a Caribbean country. Mavrodi was sentenced to 4 years and 6 months in prison, but he was almost immediately released because by that time he had already served this term while in pre-trial custody. 2 years later, swindler Benny Madoff was sentenced to 150 years in prison for organizing a similar Ponzi scheme in the US. The investor's money was never found. Most likely, Mavrodi took it out throughout his offshore subsidiaries. After the trial, he formed similar schemes in South Africa and Latin America. In early 2017, the website of the local MMM scheme in Nigeria became more popular than Facebook. It's estimated that approximately 3 million Nigerians lost $42 million in this Ponzi scheme. Not only were Mavrodi's impacts financial, but even life-threatening. More than 50 people died under MMM's financial wreckage. They took their own lives when they realized that they would get nothing back. However, Mavrodi was undisturbed by all of this.
Вы говорите, что даже если бы это были тысячи и миллионы людей, которые покончили с собой, что вас это как-то не беспокоит? А как же так? Они все за вами шли. Эти 15 миллионов вкладчиков. Но когда они кончали жизнь самоубийством, вам как-то на них наплевать, что ли?
Как? Хорошо, я отвечаю прямо. Нет, мне не жалко.
Sergei Mavrodi died at a bus stop in March 2018 from a heart attack at the age of 62, and no one among his relatives wanted to take his body after his death. Even his own brother refused to bury Sergei next to their parents. In the end, it was former MMM investors who decided to pay for his funeral. What do you think about Sergei Mavrodi? Leave your thoughts in the comments, and thank you for staying until the end. If you enjoyed this video and want to support me on my way to the top, hit like and subscribe. See you next time.